Hello everyone, welcome to CATIA tutorial. I am VALASA, Assistant Professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering, KITS Warangal. In this video lecture, I am going to explain how to move and rotate the components by using manipulation tool. Generally, the components when inserted in a product file are overlapped by the other components. As a result, their visualization is hampered and it becomes difficult to apply constraint to them. Therefore, it is necessary to reposition the components in the 3D space such that they are distinctly visible and the mating references are accessible in the assembly. CATIA V5 allows you to move and rotate the individual unconstrained components in the product file without affecting the position and location of the other components. The reorientation of the component can be carried out using three different methods. Let us see how to activate assembly drawing in CATIA V5. Go to Start button, Mechanical Design. The second module is Assembly Design. Now the assembly module is invoked, and let us import the existed components in assembly module. Let us see the procedure. One method is go to the menu bar, click edit, components. We can go to the specification tree, product to right click, mouse button, components, new component. In this you can choose existing component. Already I have drawn 4 different components individually and saved in local disk, so that's why again I'm not drawing any pod drawing in this module, so directly I'm importing the saved files, pod drawings from this option, existing components. Here I have drawn previously 4 parts, and I am choosing this part 1, part 2, part 3 and part 4. Then click open. When you are importing that 4 sketches, here the 4 sketches are overlapped with each other. So that's why in this we'll going to learn about how to move that components and rotate with respect to axis. Now how to activate manipulation toolbar in assembly drawing. Go to the one option is go to the menu bar, edit, move. This is the one option, manipulate. Another procedure is you can also go to the you can also choose the toolbar. You can also select from move toolbar. You can see here, this is the move toolbar. If this toolbar is hide, you can access from bottom toolbars. Just here one vertical line is there. In this place you can click mouse right button and choose move. Whether this tick mark is there, the toolbar is visible, otherwise you can select this option. When you are choosing this option, the toolbar is visible on the screen. In that, the first one is manipulation. You can see here. This dialog box contains a few buttons. The buttons are arranged in 3 rows and 4 columns. The currently active button is displayed on the top of the dialog box. The buttons in the first row are used to transfer the component along the particular direction. For example, this button we can drag along x-axis. The second button we can drag along y-axis. This is the drag along z-axis, the drag along any axis. Let us discussing about this first row buttons, that is the drag along x-axis. The drag along x-axis button is first button and it is chosen by default. This button is used to translate the selected component along the x-axis of the assembly coordinate system. To move the component, select it. For example, I move to component, this major component. Otherwise, you can choose any component and then drag it to the desired location and then release the left mouse button. For example, I am applying this drag along x-axis to this component and press mouse left button and move in along x direction. Here I have chosen this major component and with the help of mouse left button you can move along x direction. Similarly, the second button, that is the drag along y-axis, you can follow the same procedure like previous one. I am choosing second one, applying to this second component. That means just you can move in y direction. This is the y direction. Here you can also see here, this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, this is the z-axis. Now I am choosing the third one, drag along z-axis button. Now I'm going to apply this drag along z-axis to this cube. With the help of mouse left button, you can move the component translate the component z direction. The last one is drag along any axis. The drag along any axis button is used to move the component along a selected direction. After choosing the drag along any axis button, you need to select a direction to define the translation axis. For example, now I have chosen drag along any axis. Now define the axis. I'm choosing this is the z axis. I'm going to choose the translation axis, z axis. Apply this component to move in z direction. Similarly, like you can define x direction, you can move the object in x direction. Otherwise, you can define y axis, you can move the object along the y axis. This is the procedure to drag along x axis, y axis, z axis and any other axis. The second row indicates drag along xy planes, drag along yz planes, drag along xz planes, drag along any axis, any plane. Let us see the first one. The drag along xy plane. This button is used to translate the selected component parallel to xy plane of the assembly coordinate. For example, I am choosing this component. Now you can move this component parallel to xy plane. You can see here. You can move the component along xy plane. The next button is drag along yz plane. This button is used to translate the selected component parallel to yz plane of the assembly coordinate system. Now I'm going to apply this manipulation to this object. Now we can translate along yz plane. The next one is drag along xz plane. This button is used to translate the selected component parallel to the xz plane of assembly coordinate system. Now I'm going to choose this component. Now you can translate along xz plane. The last one is the drag along any plane. This button is used to move the selected component parallel to a specified plane. You can define xy plane, yz plane and xz plane. You can define the plane, then you can move the object in specified direction of that plane. Now I am choosing this object. You can move in the direction. The third row indicates rotation. The button is the buttons in the third row of manipulation parameter dialog box are used to rotate selected component around an axis. That means around x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, or rotate any axis. Let us see the first one. The drag around x-axis button is used to rotate the selected component around the x-axis of the assembly coordinate system. Let us take, let us apply drag around x-axis to this component, rotate in x direction. Next, second one, drag around y-axis, apply to this component. This button is used to rotate the selected component around y-axis on the assembly coordinate system. The next one is the drag around z-axis, apply to this component. It is used to rotate the selected component around the z-axis of the assembly coordinate system. The last one is drag around any axis. This button is used to rotate the selected component around a specified axis. First you need to define the axis, that is x-axis or y-axis or z-axis. Now I am choosing y direction. After choosing the drag around any axis button, you need to select a line to define the rotation axis. This axis or this axis, or I have chosen this axis. The line can be an edge of the component or an axis of cylindrical feature. After selecting that axis, for rotation, select component. Select component to rotate around, then drag it. This is the brief discussion about how to move and rotate components by using manipulation tool. Here the last one is with respect to constraint. This checkbox is selected to move or rotate components within the available degrees of freedom after applying constraint. After applying the previous mentioned constraint, you need to choose with respect to constraint, then click OK button. Then the mentioned constraint is applied to that object. Then click OK. This is the brief discussion about how to move and rotate component by using manipulation tool in assembly drawing. I hope this is very clear to everyone. Thank you for watching. Please do like and subscribe my channel for more updates.